This is not good. Not good at all. As you can see, it's a bit windy. It's also a bit rainy. Yeah, this is not sensible anymore. This is the drone pilot coming to find me and pick me up. I had to call emergency services. As I set off in the car to the start point of the run, there had been heavy rain overnight. The conditions appeared to be clearing up, and I set off looking forward to my day on the mountains. Well, good morning everybody. Today's Saturday, it's around 6:30 in the morning, and we've actually had some rain in Croatia. Today I'm going on my second trail run in Croatia. I did a trail run earlier in the week. Behind me you can see Split. It all looks very lovely and very flat, but if I just turn the camera around here a bit, you can see it gets a bit more peaky behind me. And the mountain I'm going to go up today is 1,060 meters high. It is coincidentally 2 meters lower than Snowdon and should be good training. It's a fairly straightforward course, straight up and straight down. I've not hugely comfortable with the safety aspect because I don't know the course at all. I'm here by myself and anything can happen. Some of the trails I went on the other day were quite rocky and quite uneven, so there are some risks involved in the run, but I've taken my phone, I've got the equipment I need to keep me as safe as possible. I've got a spare battery, lots of food, lots of water, and should be a good run. Well, I picked today because the weather's not so good, which should help me, provided it doesn't get too cloudy and horrible up the top. Okay, time to strap on the gear and get going. I've picked up a path which is fairly well made up, so it's just a question of grinding it out, getting to the top, getting back safely in one piece. It is all very steep. There is a bit of cloud just cresting on the top of the mountain, so I'm hoping that's not going to cause me any problems. You'll see that route I'm going to be taking well, I was slightly hesitant to do this route because 1,000 meters up is a long way, and I have seen how the weather can be very unpredictable on Snowdon. Although it looks a bit cloudy up there, I don't think it's going to be as savage as Wales can be, but that's probably how most YouTube videos start, that then turn into a disaster.
Meanwhile, back at the apartment, my wife Nikki could see the approaching weather front.
Oh, the rain's coming.
So far so good though, look at this. This is amazing. Absolutely spectacular. It's interesting to see, with all the talk of wildfires in Europe this year, that they obviously had a fire here a few years ago. You can see all the charred remains of the trees here. As you can see from the surroundings, it's extremely green, and you can see all of these new trees growing here. All the dead trees there. It's quite spooky really. That's what it must have been like. This is where it looks like things are going to start getting a bit interesting, because so far all of the road and track has been like this, but now it seems we're heading slightly off-road. There's a sort of target mark here on this rock, which seems to indicate in Croatia that you're going on the right track. You see there's another one down here, and I think that's an indication perhaps of the possible routes you can go. Well, that's good. I've literally gone 2 meters, took the wrong track already, went up that way, whereas I think I should be going up this rather more blocked up area But you can see, look at all the evidence here. This tree falling down here, but you can see more marks here. So I think I have to start following these signs a bit more. Yep, this is definitely where it's getting adventurous. I don't think I'm on the main tourist trail here. Right, this is where I'm going. And amongst all of this new growth, there's a couple of signs there and down here to show that I seem to be going in the right direction, although you could have fooled me. It is absolutely solid, the greenery here. Well, I just went up there, which is the wrong, and the crosses on here suggest this is some sort of crossroads. So I think I've got to go up there somewhere, but it's no obvious path. So I think this is now where it gets seriously scrambly.
At this point, although the terrain was at times a little difficult and I was beginning to wonder if I'd bitten off more than I could chew, I was not overly concerned and still enjoying the challenge.
Oh, that was tough. I couldn't even see the path then. I was literally, oh, now they tell me, yeah, now there's a little mark. But literally I was just climbing up a load of really scrambly rocks. But that was a nasty little connection there. There was no way of really seeing where the path was. But I've now picked up the main path again. As I suspected, this is not going to be a quick downhill jog when I get to the top. He's hoping I don't have to go down that. Whoa, that is steep. Woohoo! Well, looks like some of the mist is rolling in. Been slow progress, another 400 meters to go before I get to the top, and it is actually getting quite fresh up here. When I was booking this holiday in Croatia, I thought I'll maybe go on a couple of runs just to keep the legs turning over, and the very last thing on my mind was that I would be climbing up a 1,000-meter mountain after a thunderstorm with misty clouds rolling in over the peaks. And one minute you can be lounging around on a sun lounger, the next minute you find yourself getting a little bit chilly, 600 meters up a mountain, a long way from civilization. I've been walking for what, hour and a half now, I suppose. Haven't seen a single person. One wrong move and you really could find yourself in all sorts of trouble. I'm not going to take any risks today, apart from I am going to get to the top of this blinking mountain, even if it is a bit chilly up there. But I'm really going to take it very cautiously on the way down, because some of these rocks are slippery and sharp. This isn't what I expected at the top of the mountain. There's a forest. I think actually, I say top of the mountain, but actually I think we've probably still got 200-300 meters to go. Well, it's getting a bit cloudy now. We're seriously high. I think we're about 925 metres above sea level. Got 197 metres to go. So we're almost there, but it's really, really tricky to find the signs. It's quite sheer. It's very wild. Well, I'm almost at the top. And some parts of that climb were properly scary. I've still got some to go up here. I've got to go right up here, which is, you don't really get much of a sense of how steep it is, but it's kind of like that. It's getting a bit to the silly stage now, so I think I might start looking for my exit route down, because the weather is definitely closing in and I don't want to be stuck at the top of this mountain. The only thing is, if I get to the top, there might be a decent path down, that's the thing. Because right now it's crawling along sheer rock face. So I'm going to keep going. I can hear a bit of thunder in the distance. Hopefully that stays away. Just try and stay safe.
As I reached the top of the mountain, I started to feel slightly exposed. I'd been walking for 4 hours and had not seen any other people, and I had just completed a challenging climb up a steep rocky section of the mountain. I could see that the weather was closing in and I started to feel quite vulnerable.
Oh, just when I needed a bit of encouragement, I found a red dot and the sun almost came through the clouds. Right, it's getting very inclement now. It's just started absolutely tipping down. Fortunately, it's not cold, but this is not good. Not good at all. I need to really focus and get across, get to the top of this and get out of here, because it's getting quite bad. Right, I've reached the top. As you can see, it's a bit windy. It's also a bit rainy. So I'm just gonna walk along here for a bit and then make my way down. I think there's a bit of lightning as well, so I'm out of here. Well, I'm just scooting along this ridge here. You can see the red dots. The rain isn't what bothers me. What bothers me a bit is the fact that I'm heading straight towards lightning and whatnot, and it's not really what I want to do. So I think I'm going to just take a little break here and just shelter a bit until the storm goes, and then once that's passed through, I think I'll move on. I don't want to go into that. Showing my inexperience a bit here, learning a lot, but yeah, this is not sensible anymore. It's clearly a defined run, but it's not for the faint-hearted. As I say, the rain doesn't really bother me. It's plenty warm enough. It's just that lightning isn't my cup of tea. And actually, the watch still says there's another 107 meters to climb. That can't be right.
This was the first time that I properly felt the onset of panic. I could feel it rising within me and sensed it was starting to cloud my thought processes. Initially, I decided to wait out the thunder and lightning by a rock. I was reluctant to retrace my steps as the climb had been very steep. However, I could see now a long line of large boulders stretching across the ridge, and it was clear that was not going to be an easy route off the mountain either. However, my GPS watch was now down to 25% of charge, and I was keen to get off the mountain as soon as possible before it ran out of charge. So I decided to press on along the ridge.
So I've been traversing across here for the last 10-20 minutes. This has very quickly turned into a video about how a nice little run can turn nasty. I'm just traversing across here to try and get off the mountain. I'm just taking shelter here for a bit.
As I made slow progress across the ridge, I took a moment to gather my thoughts. I had recently seen an interview on the Wild Ginger Running YouTube channel where Claire was interviewing an experienced trail runner, Tim Piggott. For some reason, this video popped into my head. I remembered that in the interview, Tim had said that trail running is just a series of problems that need to be solved. So I decided to sit myself down and do a status check. with a particular focus on what was going right, not just on what was going wrong. One of the key positives was that I was healthy and not injured. I knew that I couldn't take any risks over the slippery boulders, as a twisted ankle or even a more serious injury would have made things 10 times worse. This meant that progress was very, very slow.
What's my status? My status is Garmin is 25% battery left. My charger stopped working on my phone, but it's sufficiently charged, I think, for about 70%. So I'm okay. The lightning seems to have died down, which is good, and I'm keeping nice and low to the ground, and there's only 1 or 2 strikes in the distance, but I'm staying out of the way. But literally I thought I'd be running across here. I had this dream of running across the top of this mountain, you know, sunshine, everything, but actually it's rocky as anything. Very, very technical. One wrong move and I'll do myself some injuries, particularly, well, there you go, particularly seeing as my hands are now so waterlogged. They're cutting very easily on the sharp rocks. Right, so I'm going to get out. I've got to start getting down as soon as I can, but I've literally got to get to the end of this ridge to be able to get down again before the Garmin cuts out, and then I'm relying on the red dots alone. But if I can get out of the elevation, I think that's what is important. Well, still very technical and still going uphill, but I really cannot wait to get off this mountain. But one good thing is, at least there's no lightning anymore, so I'm going to get off here as soon as possible before another one comes in. I think this might be what I came for. It's clearing up a bit. I think I have to go to the end of that thing over there and then I'm off down. God, my knees are trembling. I've got a bit of a rush and I'm shitting myself. It's really not funny anymore. But I've got a bit of food, so I'll keep going. I think the worst of it's over, but that was properly scary. I've just done my longest kilometre ever. It took me 54 minutes, but as you can see, I'm scrambling over what's essentially massive boulders with crevices down the middle. All my hands are cut up. Well, one good thing I've done today is I brought a load of plasters, so at least my hands are all taped up. So yeah, that's a properly nasty moment. I don't think we've got another thunderstorm coming for a while. I keep saying I'm almost at the top, but I'm not quite. I've got another 8 just going up this little bit here, and then I think I'm on my way down, and then it's all down, back down to safety. But that was properly nasty. I'm going to save the battery on my phone because the Garmin's running out of battery a bit, and the phone has got a few issues charging. Finally, on my way down. Finally.
Although the thunderstorm had passed and I was off the ridge, this was not the end of my troubles. I was quite mentally shaken up by what had happened over the last couple of hours. My GPS watch battery finally died just as I came off the ridge and just before a crossroads in the path. When I got to the crossroads, instead of taking the path to the left, which would have taken me straight down the mountain, in my desperation to get down the mountain, unknowingly I took another route. At this point, it is worth explaining the topography of the mountain. It essentially comprised of 2 cliff faces, each around 300 metres high, one at the top and one at the bottom of the mountain. You can see the lower cliff face here. In between the 2 cliff faces, there was a flat section consisting of a green forested area and grazing land for cattle. This is where I was to eventually give up my attempts to get off the mountain and call mountain rescue. The green area here is the forest and the grazing land is represented by the yellow circle. The blue line shows my original intended route of descent. As the battery on my GPS watch had failed at the top of the mountain, I was essentially following any route I could with the help of my iPhone, which was itself rapidly running out of power. This is the actual route that I took down, following the target signs that indicated the route. When I made it to the grazing land, I came to the lower cliffs, around 300 metres of sheer drop that extended many kilometres to each side. By this point, the skies had cleared and the temperatures had risen into the 30s. My 3.5 litres of water was gone. Although I was following the path markers, I also spent a little bit of time walking along the cliff edge to see if I could find a route down. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the exit down. As I continued to follow the path, I came to a section where the land rose in front of me by 40 metres. Not having any GPS and with my iPhone battery now low, it was difficult to navigate, and I was essentially navigating blind. I feared that the route in front of me may now be taking me back up the mountain. By now it was mid-afternoon. My iPhone battery was on 20%, I had no water, and I had eaten all of my food. I knew that if my iPhone battery died, I could be stuck on the mountain with no way of contacting anyone for help. At this point, I parked myself under a tree for shade, and as I turned off my iPhone, I saw the emergency SOS button and decided that now was the time to swipe right. After about 1 hour, a drone appeared from directly up the cliff face, and I received a call from a man who introduced himself as the Drone Man.
This is the drone pilot coming to find me and pick me up. It's a long story, but I had to call emergency services. How embarrassing.
The drone hovered over me until a mountain rescuer arrived at around 3:30 p.m. He was the first person I had seen in 9 hours. He led me down the remainder of the mountain. As it turned out, the 40-metre hill that I had feared was taking me back up the mountain was actually the route down and joined up to my original descent route, shortly over the crest of the hill. In the end, the route off the mountain was fairly straightforward and took about 30 minutes. As I enjoyed a warm meal and a beer back in the safety of Split that evening, it is a sobering thought that at about the same time on Saturday, 3 hill walkers tragically lost their lives in Glencoe, Scotland. I am immensely grateful to the volunteer mountain rescuers who saved me from the mountain that day. At best, I was facing an uncomfortable night alone on the mountain. I don't like to dwell too much on the worst possible outcomes. It may have been a routine walk up and down the slower slopes of the mountain for them, but for me, they will always be heroes. All they asked was that I post a positive review on their website. As you can imagine, I learned many lessons on the mountain that day. In the near future, I will most likely do a lessons learned video. But for now, all I will say is that I would not have needed mountain rescue, and the walk would have remained enjoyable if I had either put my iPhone and battery pack in a sealed plastic bag, or if I had had a compass and a map. Simple things that don't weigh much or take up much space, but which would have made such a difference. In future, I will be taking all of these things on my runs. If you are a trail runner or a mountain climber, I hope you found the video of interest. The training for Snowdon 2024 continues.